Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Boldin. I'm the artistic administrator for Pittsburgh Opera, and welcome to another episode of Pull Back the Curtain, Week 7. Thank you so much for being here and for being with us through this journey these past few weeks. We've had a really great opportunity to talk to some good friends, some good part of the Pittsburgh Opera family, and today is no different. We have some really special guests that will be joining me, Charles and Rachel Stegeman, the Concertmaster and Assistant Concertmaster, respectively, of the Pittsburgh Opera Orchestra. And make sure you stay to the end because they have graciously agreed to provide us with a lovely performance, a brief, lovely performance at the end of this episode. And we are grateful for that, and we're looking forward to that as well. Before we get into things, as always, you can check out all sorts of information at pittsburghopera.org. If you would like to join us as a donor, you can check out the one-click donation in the comments. You can also go to pittsburghopera.org/give-now. We'll bring this up on screen. So you can take a look at that if you like, and we're thrilled. It's because of patrons and viewers such as yourself that allow us to do work that we so desperately love and bring it to you, to bring it to our community, and that's really what it's all about, especially in these really, really difficult times. A couple of announcements before we get started. This week, we welcomed the new class, the 2020-21 class of resident artists, virtually, mind you. So we've started coachings with our wonderful music staff. We've engaged all sorts of digital platforms, Zoom, FaceTime, Skype. They are off and running. Coachings have started. We are thrilled that they are finally here in Pittsburgh, quarantining, socially distancing, being safe, but they are with us, and we're looking forward to introducing you to all of them. Speaking of which, on Sunday, September 13th, please join us for the Resident Artist Kickoff Party at 4 p.m. You can find more information about that on our website. And then the following Sunday, September 20th, we have our annual Rising Stars concert. Both of these endeavors are digital this year due to the pandemic and the situation that we're in, and they will be posted or they will be live streamed on our YouTube and our Facebook live channels. So please head over there. You can tune in, check that out, and we look forward to having you in our virtual audience for those. A great opportunity to both meet via Q&A, the resident artists at the kickoff party, and then following week to hear them sing for the first time over the course, for the first time this season. That being said, moving on to today's episode, getting into it, like I said, it couldn't be happier than to have the opportunity to welcome these two wonderful guests, wonderful people, extraordinary musicians, members of our Pittsburgh Opera Orchestra, Charles Stegeman, our concertmaster, and his wife, Rachel Stegeman, assistant concertmaster. Let me bring them into the stream here. Greetings, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's wonderful. Welcome to you both. It's great to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Really, it's a pleasure, and we are thrilled that you could take a little bit of time out of your day, out of your schedule to say hello, talk with us, and just get to know you a little bit more. So before we really get into the meat of things, I definitely want to bring to the attention, because we didn't have an opportunity to do so, but Charles, starting with you, last year was quite a milestone for you as a member of and the concertmaster of the Pittsburgh Opera Orchestra. You celebrated 30 years as concertmaster. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, 30 years at Duquesne University and 30 years with you guys. It's been the best.
An amazing achievement. Tell me about how that must feel to have been a part of this organization for that long.
Well, the crazy part is it feels like it was about 20 minutes. So it's just, kind of crazy to think 30 years. And that would explain the gray hair and the fatigue and all that good stuff, what hair is left. So it's been a wonderful slice of life, I have to say. The opera has always been such a quality organization to work for. The conductors have always been great. Just the whole thing has been a positive experience with virtually no negative, which is, as you well know in our field, really unusual. So it's
well, maybe not negative. We'll call it dramatic.
Dramatic, it's certainly. So we have, at least from the opera orchestra part, I think we're relatively copacetic, and it's a happy group of musicians, and I'm very privileged and honored to have been able to do that for 30 years. So it's been great to be here.
It's a wonderful group of musicians, and 30 years also spent at Duquesne, correct?
That's correct. I was actually brought in by Tito, who was an old director of the opera eons ago, and Teo Alcantara, the conductor, or Alcantara, back in the late 80s. And it's just one of those things where it was a joint position with Duquesne Opera and Ballet to create enough of an incentive to get somebody to move out of a major position. At the time, I was associate concertmaster of Kansas City and the concertmaster of the opera and the ballet as well. And so it was an opportunity that was worth doing then, because that was also a very good job. And so I thought, okay, Pittsburgh's closer to home. My family was in Philadelphia and in Europe, and it was just easier to get here. So it came here on a lark 3,000 years ago, and it's worked out really well. It's been wonderful. Pittsburgh's just a delicious place to live. And of course, I'm a Canadian, so I'm from Vancouver, the West Coast. So I've lived in a lot of different places, and Pittsburgh just rocks. It is a great place to live. People are friendly, and it's wonderful.
Obviously it's been nothing but a pleasure having you in the pit, and it's our artistic pleasure as well. So, Rachel, turning to you though, so as another prestigious violinist here in town and the assistant concertmaster of this orchestra, you and Charles sit side by side in our ensemble. And remind me, how long have you guys shared that stand?
I think since about 2002 or 3, which is when I moved here.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny story, actually, because Rachel was one of the top players in the studios in Los Angeles for the movies and the recording industry, and she was the associate concertmaster of the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra since its formation. And the conductor of that, of course, was John Mauceri. And John Mauceri was our maestro, too. Yeah. So we had an opening, and he didn't know this, but she and I were an item at that point. She came to audition, got in, and then he fell off his chair when he realized that she was here because I was here, because he couldn't figure out why she would leave LA. So it's kind of a fun romance story there.
I love that. So how is it sharing a stand? I mean, is it sort of an extension of home bickering, essentially? Rachel telling Charles what to do, leaning over a little elbow when the bowing is on.
That's right.
But seriously, how is it sharing that stand and making music together?
I got to tell you, it's a total blast. We have a blast. Not, like any couple, we have our moments. But when we get to the pit, we're there, we're going to have fun. We're stuck for 3 hours. There's nothing you can do. So you may as well have a good time. And by the end of it, whatever bickering we were doing is long gone. And that didn't happen very often. It's a really fun pit.
Music, it's a good equalizer.
It's wonderful.
I always remember that story, Rob, when we, obviously we're coming together to the concert, although we don't always.
No.
We might be in different places. But this one time we were, and it was a Friday night when the concert was at 7:30 instead of 8, and you called us. We're walking down the street.
I think
it was 8.
That might have been my first season, and so I probably was still getting my sea legs, and I'm thinking, I've got to call the concertmaster and the assistant concertmaster and let them know, but it all worked out. Things were good. Hey, Rachel, do me a favor. Can you scoot to your right just a hair, and that'll frame you up a little?
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
Okay, sure.
Perfect. We like to have you guys framed up nicely for this.
I know one of the nice things is I think we're similar enough so that when we're in rehearsals, as far as marking the part, we tend to mark the part similarly. Or if I need to put a bowing in, and so because he's playing, he'll like my bowing instead of being like, oh, don't put in that bowing. We're similar enough where that none of that stuff is a problem, or other problems that one could have. We don't really seem to have those.
And this is sort of a two-parter, if you will. But Rachel, you're assistant concertmaster of Pittsburgh, but you also play and I believe serve as in other leadership positions of other orchestras around town. And play. And so between the two of you, tell me a little bit about, maybe asking the obvious question, what is a concertmaster, and what do they do? And how is that position serving the orchestra? I mean, we don't have to get a Juilliard degree in it, but a little bit about what that is for anybody watching, what that means.
Well, the concertmaster up until the 19th century basically was the conductor. They usually didn't have a conductor. Those were the good old days. And so
Anthony's not watching.
That's exactly right. Anthony's busy right now. But bottom line is, then after that, it became too complex, and you basically needed somebody to direct traffic. The advantage of the concertmaster being the conductor, of course, is that when he makes the sound, that's when everybody plays. The advantage of having a conductor, of course, is that it's much easier for him or her to just do exactly what they want to do, and everybody then can join in. He doesn't have to play the thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that has huge advantages, and I think the music benefits from having a conductor, though it pains me horribly to admit that. So but basically you have that, and the concertmaster really runs the string section, all, first violin, second violin, viola, cello, bass, but it's also when everybody plays together. So when that guy or woman starts, that's when everybody else is playing. So the role is really leadership. That's how the British call it, leader. And that maybe is a better way of looking at it. So sure. It's a useful position. It's an important one. You kind of have to know the score maybe a little bit better than a section player would.
Right. It's a massive job, massive undertaking, in a lot of ways, because it is that leadership role. Rachel, talk to me a little bit, because you both play in other ensembles, but I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about what that's like. Pittsburgh has a fairly rich community of musicians and a fairly rich network of orchestras throughout the city and surrounding areas. What is that like to go from one ensemble to the next? I assume you run into a lot of the same players, and it sort of forms a community unto itself. But I'd love to hear you talk about that community a little bit.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm concertmaster of two orchestras, the Wheeling Symphony in West Virginia and Youngstown Symphony in Ohio. And also we sit together in the ballet orchestra as well. Same two seats. So, and I'm fortunate enough to get to substitute musician with Pittsburgh Symphony for a lot of their season. So at any given moment, there's just all this music to learn and play and rehearse. So I do quite a bit of driving. And I also teach a lot at Duquesne University and at home. So for me, it's sort of just transitioning in between each orchestra. Some orchestras, I'm first chair. Pittsburgh Symphony, I might be last chair, second violin, or in the first, So I really enjoy the variety of the challenges of being first chair, second chair, if I'm with Charles, or at the back, because it reminds me of all the skill sets that one needs as a musician. And then I use that at my Duquesne teaching, for the orchestral audition class. So I'm able to talk about that from personal experience. But I love the variety. I love opera, ballet, symphonic. We do a lot of chamber music. I do solos here and there. And I find it very fulfilling, more so than just doing one of those things.
Yeah, well, I think that you bring up a really interesting and important point. As an educator, you're still active, very, very active. I mean, the both of you are, but having that varying, I would say, degrees of seating, if you will, for lack of a better term, being at the front of the section or the back of the section, you can really bring that to your student body in real time and discuss that as you, a high-level professional, bringing that experience and expertise, which I think is really great, which sort of leads me into this next question, because both of you are active as teachers. And Charles, in our pre-show the other day, we were just kind of chatting about the summer. You mentioned the practice camp that you you both facilitate. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, what that entails, what that's like. Who is that for?
That is for basically the regional kids, although now with the online option, we had people from Brazil and Colombia and Chile. We didn't get Australia because the time zone difference is just a little bit hairy, but would have otherwise. So we started 8 years ago something we called violin and viola boot camp, and that's where we put the kids through the paces that we did as students ourselves. The 7 hours of practicing every day, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and off you went. And so we make these poor people. We play with them. We're with them from 10 o'clock, actually 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. After which the mothers of the younger ones love it because they go straight to bed and they die. It's perfect. So there's no issues there with spending energy. And then, for the collegiate kids or above, those who are preparing for auditions, it really does put them through the grill of what somebody actually does in the field or to get to the field, because 7 hours you can't do now. Yeah. Then when COVID hit, I started 2 music festivals. One that's the Sunflower, and Anthony has conducted it many times and will, not next year, but the year after. That's been around for 35 years. And then the other one's Buzzards Bay in just south of Boston, about 40 minutes, right on the coast. And those were canceled, obviously, because of COVID. Right. So we had a month where we could do something else. We started another one then, sort of in the earlier part of the summer. And I have to say, after everything was said and done, we did 128 students. Many of them were repeats, but over the 2 months, there were 128 people that attended. And they all went through practice in the real world. Not all of them loved it, but the results are usually, they get about a year's worth of work done in a month. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's intense. I mean, being a former vocalist, I can't imagine singing for 7 or 8 hours a day. But having been to music school too, I had lots of friends who the only time I saw them was in the practice room hallway, and that's just, I guess, one of the inherent differences between being an instrumentalist or obviously.
Yeah. Now, the pianist I played with for years, David Allen Ware, who's now the dean of the Duquesne School of Music, and we were together with Columbia artists for a decade. And he still practices 4 hours every morning. Wow. So it's in the routine for those who had the career that's there. But that's normal for our kind of instruments.
And one of the main things that we're trying to instill at these camps is, every teacher will say, hey, go practice. But for each person, it might mean a slightly different thing, Right. And some people will naturally do better practice techniques or maybe not as effective, and then it takes longer. So I think, what we want to impart is not just another music camp, but like giving you the tips on how to get more done in less time. Mm-hmm. And, and listening. So we're actually interrupting their practice and kind of spying on them. What are you doing now and how fast? Oh, you're going way too fast, and then and we have our violins. We're like, no, okay, here's how you would practice that. And then they can do it, as opposed to if they came to a lesson, then that's a week later of maybe doing not great practicing. And then all that time's gone by. So when it's seeing people 8 times a day, very effective.
Absolutely. You bring up a good point about the practicing. But last week I was on with Bill Powers and Shari Gruber, and Shari was talking about during this pandemic. Similar question, but now is the time you can focus on your technique. Right. This is a great opportunity that doesn't often come along as working professionals know. You're usually, Rachel, like you said, driving from gig to gig or teaching. You don't get that opportunity. So a good reminder, young musicians, any of you who might be watching, get out your axe and get to practicing, or hit these 2 up and you can get good practice techniques.
That's right.
I want to circle back just a little bit, because I think in all of this, in this pandemic, we talked a little bit about the orchestras and being a part of the ensembles, but I'd love to hear from both of you about I think it's special, but what is so special about this Pittsburgh arts community and how it has, about how it functions? because I think we all need a little bit of a, uplift during these times. And I think that this is a really special community that we're probably all looking to come back together and make music. But what do you find so special about the Pittsburgh arts community?
Sure, I'll go first. I love how tight knit it is, very tightly knit. And I love how in downtown, it's all very close too, just physically close, and so now they've made this cultural district, and it's like a mini New York to me. You can just be walking around and see what's playing here, seeing what's playing there. And all the arts are really supporting each other, even though you may choose to go to the ballet and this person chooses to go to the opera or the symphony. It's all, when you're in the elevators with the community, everyone's like, what show did you see? Oh, what show did you see? Where were you? Oh, I saw that last night. Tonight I came to the ballet. Last night I went to the symphony. And, last week I was at the opera. And they're seeing all of it, and it's very, it's very enriching. And we talk about it all the time at Duquesne for prospective students, saying, hey, you can walk to so much. You don't need a car. So I love that.
When it's all lit up, I love being downtown when all the theaters and the restaurants are open. It's something I cherish, and I'm sure we all dearly miss. But Charles, impressions as well about this community and the artists that take it up?
It's a real music town. I mean, you can fill Symphony Hall, you can fill the Opera, you can fill the O'Reilly, all at the same time. The community itself really values its arts. I mean, I think the heritage of the community really, really favors music personally. And both my parents were painters, so I come by that. Honestly, I think it's a really great music town. The level of the music is unbelievably high. And if you did a per capita research on the number of people out of Pittsburgh's 200 to 300,000 people.
Yeah, a little over 3.
Yeah, and you get 2,500 people come to an opera, and then you'll get 2,000 or 2,500 going to the concert, depending on the soloist at the symphony. If you did that in New York, Avery Fisher would have 20,000 people in it, and the Met would have 20,000 people in it. So it's unbelievable on a per capita basis just how wonderfully rich this environment is.
I agree. It's a special place. It's a small community, but it's tight knit, and we all get to interact, as members of the artist community.
Right.
Before we kind of move on, and I teased this out earlier, a little selection. Just I want to throw a couple of lovely comments up here. David Bennett said Rachel is a fine performer and teacher. How's that?
Oh, thank you, David.
I didn't see that. And our dear Amy Kelman says Pittsburgh Opera is lucky to have both of them. I agree, Amy.
Thank
you.
It's a special place. It's a special community. We're lucky to have you both in the pit and to serve in the capacities that you do. And looking forward to our upcoming pivoted season as we embark on some new territory. Some smaller works and some smaller instrumentations, but I think we're all looking forward to that. So thank you both so much for being here today. And as I teased earlier, you have both graciously agreed to play a little selection. So I'm gonna let you guys say goodbye and then just move to your piano and get ready, and we'll take a listen to that. So thank you so much for being with me today. And
thank you, Rob.
Thanks for having us.
And Rob, you're a wonderful addition to the community as well. So it's so great to have you.
You are.
I grew up here, so and came up through the music scene in many ways. So it's an easy leap to be a part of this fabric.
Well, you do such a wonderful job at all the different facets of your job.
Yeah, so we're gonna play the first one.
I hope Christopher Hahn and Bill Powers are watching it. Thank you both. Really, thank you for the time. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you in advance for playing us out of this episode with this.
You're welcome. And in case 1,000 people ask you what it is, it's
please.
It's Talamon's Canonic Duo No. 2, originally written for 2 flutes around 1700. And it's Canon, row, row, row your boat. So I'll play first because I can't count as well as she can. She'll come after me.
Bye, everybody.
Indeed. While they're getting set up, such a pleasure to chat with them. Such a great musical couple. And we're thrilled to have them in our Pittsburgh community. So I'm going to move some things around, and off we go. Lovely. Thank you so much. There's not much I can do to top that. That is a great way to play out this episode, and we are so happy that Charles and Rachel could join us this afternoon. Thank you to them. Thank you for playing. Thank you to you for joining us once again for another episode of Pull Back the Curtain. As I mentioned, do make sure to tune in and check out pittsburghopera.org for some upcoming virtual events. September 13th, the Resident Artist Welcome Party, September 20th, the Rising Stars concert, all of that can be found on our website. And if you want, and we'd love to have you part of the donation family, pittsburghopera.org/give now, or check out the one-click link in the comment section. Join me next week. Looking forward to another conversation with one of our Pittsburgh Opera family, Jason Bray, costume shop manager and costume designer in his own right. Very much looking forward to hearing his insights about costume design and the coming season as well, specifically. So please tune in. You won't want to miss that. Thanks so much for being here. Have a wonderful, long Labor Day weekend. Be well, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you all soon in the theater. All right, take care.